Just south of Perth, a stunning coastline is hiding a catastrophic crisis. This is Memorial Drive in Safety Bay. Look to one side of the road and you see multi-million-dollar luxury properties. Look to the other and you are staring directly at a devastating homelessness disaster. This is the heartbreaking reality of plastic tarps, packed vehicles, and everyday people fighting for sheer survival. Welcome to what locals are now calling the Street of Despair. The data from advocacy groups like Advance to Zero reveals a terrifying trajectory. In 2021, there were 37 registered rough sleepers in Rockingham. By 2024, that number climbed to 188. But on the ground, locals like Jay, a former tradie sleeping in his ute after major surgery, estimated the real figure along the coast is well into the thousands. This is not a camp defined by substance abuse. These are pensioners, RAAF veterans, former disability support workers, and families with young children. Everyday Australians completely priced out of a brutal private rental market. But here's the irony that turns this tragedy into a scandal. Just 500 metres down the exact same road sit 4 sprawling recreation camps.
But the vast majority of these shacks, which are residential style buildings, are unoccupied for a vast majority of the year. I was down with Jeff Parry there yesterday, and this is school holiday, Simon, and there was still the overwhelming majority of these shacks sitting vacant. So why can't we get the state government to work with these people who own the shacks to open up some of these residential buildings, at least for temporary crisis accommodation?
While vulnerable citizens freeze in tents on the grass, empty government leased properties sit idle behind locked gates. For years, the local council has faced intense criticism for using rangers to clear out smaller, hidden camps in parks and shopping alcoves, a practice that effectively funneled the region's crisis into one single spot. Now, a bureaucratic loophole has created a political stalemate. The city of Rockingham argues that long-term housing is strictly a state government responsibility. Meanwhile, the state government deflects, leaving people stranded in a legal limbo. This crisis didn't happen overnight. It was manufactured by years of inaction and local opposition. Back in 2019, the Rockingham Council bowed to intense community pushback and rejected a proposed 31-bed shelter in Shoalwater for single men with no mental health or addiction issues, citing a lack of parking and community anxiety. In Parliament, Premier Roger Cook points to a record $10.8 billion housing package, defending the deployment of mobile CCTV vans and drop-in clinics to Memorial Drive. But on the ground, the reality of a 9-year public housing waitlist means these packages are cold comfort to those currently fighting for survival. The politicians debate billions of dollars in Parliament, and the council argues over land boundaries, but they are looking at statistics. They aren't looking at the human beings left behind in the dirt. To understand the true cost of this systematic failure, we sat down with Debbie. She is a mother of 5 and she has been living on the streets of Rockingham for 4 years.
I was renting private for 5 years, private landlord, and he fell behind in the mortgage, so ING Bank repossessed the property, so we had 30 days to vacate. And it was during the rental crisis. There isn't housing that I could afford. Between $500 and $750 is out of reach for me, being a single mum of 5 kids. So on the Thursday, I was on the front lawn while the bailiff locked the doors, and I had nowhere to go and couldn't find anything within 30 days. So then we ended up camping in a tent and have been ever since.
Debbie was fast-tracked onto the state's priority housing list, but under the current crisis, priority is a word that has lost all meaning.
And the waiting list is really, really long, like 9 years for priority housing. Yeah, there's always the worry of theft, people coming into your camp and they steal your stuff. There's no closed doors you can lock. You're always highly vigilant, which affects your sleeping, which affects your health, your mental health, and also it's a stigma attached to being homeless. People can be quite ignorant of your circumstances, and it affects your pride.
Yeah.
But you have to keep going and never give up.
Living in the bush isn't just degrading, it is dangerous. The constant stress, the exposure to the elements, and the absolute lack of security takes a severe physical toll. For Debbie's family, the price of this political inaction wasn't just measured in lost pride, it was paid in blood.
So I've got 5 children. I've been living in the bush for 4 years with my children. Their father passed away 3 weeks ago, had a heart attack where we were living because the stress was too much for him. So it took my partner and the father of my kids' health and his mental health deteriorated from living in the bush and the stress of it, and it cost him his life being homeless. It's hard, and something really needs to change.
While local advocates call for immediate emergency night shelters and councillors put forward motions to audit land, Debbie and the residents at Memorial Drive have proposed a simple, cost-effective, intermediate solution, utilising vacant council or corporate land to establish temporary tiny homes or manage cabin sites, providing a secure stepping stone while people wait out the massive backlog for permanent homes.
Well, that's the only solution. It's the only course of action that needs to be done, and it needs to be done now. I'd like to say that it's all good and fine to sit in Parliament and look at a piece of paper about the statistics of the numbers of how many people are homeless in our country, but maybe they need to, instead of looking at it as numbers, look at us as people, as citizens, and listen to our individual story and have a heart, because it could happen to any one of us, and it is, and not to be judgmental on people who are homeless and struggling, because they are responsible for a lot of that.
The solutions are sitting right down the road. The empty recreation camps prove that this isn't a crisis of available resources, it is a crisis of political will. When a mother of 5 has to watch her husband die of a heart attack in the bush because the system cannot find them a home in 4 years, the statistics have officially failed. The finger pointing between local councils and the state government needs to end. Memorial Drive is not just a collection of tents, it is a collection of displaced Australian citizens who have been entirely left behind. For the Baldivis Times, I'm Wade McCall. To stay informed on this developing crisis and to support local independent journalism that brings these stories to light, please make sure to subscribe to the Baldivis Times.